Hi everyone, welcome to my channel on dark matter time. So this theory is revolutionary. Einstein was not able to designate the influence of dark matter on his theory of relativity, which involves space-time and special relativity, where he has one observer that stays still, and he has another observer that goes on a spacecraft and travels at the speed of light. As we know from that parable, the person that stays still on Earth, the observer, ages normally. The person traveling close to the speed of light will not age, or almost not age, because the space he's traveling will not let time catch up with him. And so he's actually not aging, because space-time includes both. So what Einstein did not understand, and it was not revealed yet, is this phenomena called dark matter. Dark matter is quite simply the evidence of matter we cannot see as evidence through redshift light. So we see distant stars in other galaxies, they emit redshift light. That means they are moving away and accelerating. So the model is expanding, accelerating universe. Einstein had no evidence of an accelerating universe via the redshift light. So he did not incorporate that into his equation. Why is that important? Because nothing, not even hypothetically, can stay in one place as the observer as we try to experiment what would happen if the traveler went the speed of light. And it goes like this. The universe is the entire entity. Our solar system, and from a larger extent, our galaxy, the Milky Way, is accelerating. As we see distant solar masses accelerating away from us, we too are in that pattern of accelerating away from other solar masses. So think of all of the observers throughout time in the human species on this accelerating solar mass system, the solar system. And as this solar system is barreling, accelerating through infinite space, we know there must be dark matter. And as a result of the acceleration property, we assume there's also dark energy, because no mass can accelerate in space without some form of energy to propel it. So we are unclear on both dark matter and dark energy. So outside or independent of the fact that we can't see it, and thus we call it black, as in no light is showing what it is, it's also really representative of the fact that it is unknown. It's an enigma. So it's kind of like a dark hole or a black hole. A black hole is black by virtue light cannot escape from it. Therefore, we cannot see into a black hole. So it appears as black. However, really the true reason we call it a black hole is because we don't know what's inside the black hole, right? So it's like a dark hole, black hole. Same with dark matter, same with dark energy. So back to my point. As we, the observer, cannot stay in one place to experiment with another traveler going close to the speed of light, we ourselves are accelerating through space-time. Therefore, Einstein did not account for that acceleration of the observer. He thought the solar system or the observer on planet Earth would represent one observer staying still. This is not true. Now, the dark matter time proposition comes in because, as we know, the solar system is not behaving with the same properties as distant solar masses. We are not using the correct metric for time. So our metric is derived from a closed solar system. The Earth will go around one star, and that is an event. So it goes around every 365 days, as we say, but those days are events, sunrise, sunsets. So every 365 events of a sunrise, sunset, the Earth will make one orbit around the solar mass, our sun. However, okay, this is the important point. that is a subset of time. It is not a metric to measure time. The events will never stop happening because they are in a closed system. The solar system is not expanding apart and traveling through the universe. It is a closed system behaving with one property, fixed, right? Fixed events. Sunrise, sunset, year are fixed events. They are not incorporating time itself. Time is what is happening inside of those events. So I'd like to introduce another analogy. Let's take the infinite universe in terms of space and say it is like a road or highway, okay? And let's take our galaxy, the Milky Way, and say it is like a car, okay? And let's take dark energy and say it is like the fuel to accelerate our car. So our car will be accelerating linearly through infinite road of space. And because we know space-time is a proven theory, then we will accelerate also with the metric of time. And so what that looks like is, again, go back to the car full of fuel, which is the dark energy, traveling on the road of dark matter. And then let's assign events. So the sunrise and the sunset, those are two events, okay? And then let's assign those events as speed bumps. So picture the car starting infinite time in the past. Well, let's just say sometime around when our sun and our earth were formed. So starting then, each event, each sunrise is a speed bump. And as the car accelerates, it'll hit one speed bump. So representing space and time, going over one speed bump, and then another speed bump. And as it accelerates, as you can see, it'll hit speed bumps more quickly. So the interval of the fabric of time, what we actually know is the fabric of time, and we need to assess a metric on, that fabric is happening between events. Those events will never change. They are just events like a metronome, right? So the speed bumps will increasingly happen. So the fabric of time is thinning. And if we go back, the fabric of time gets stretched out more dense. So accelerating time is looking in the future. Today is less thin than tomorrow. Tomorrow's time is accelerating away from today, and yesterday's time, and 1,000 years ago, and 2,000 years ago, the time between the two events or the two speed bumps is stretched out. So it would be like going 10, 20 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, increasingly accelerating. And so as you increasingly accelerate, the events happen sooner. So those are events. Those are not time metrics. What's happening inside those events? So in other words, in ancient Egypt, for example, people woke up with the sunrise, which is just an event, and they went to bed with the sunset, which is just an event. But what did the fabric of time between those two events look like? In my theory, it was extremely elongated, not accelerated because it's in the past, extremely elongated. Again, think of the car starting to accelerate or accelerating less than today, hitting a sunrise, hitting a sunset, hitting a sunrise, hitting a sunset, and then think today, sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset, sun. So the fabric of time in ancient Egypt, according to my rough approximate estimation, because I've assigned a coefficient to how time will elongate and decelerate in the past and accelerate and thin into the future. So my calculation is approximately 1 day today, so one fabric of time between two events, the sunrise and sunset today, would be equivalent to 66 in ancient Egypt. And this is an approximation. It can be off, but it's definitely going in the right direction. In other words, 1 day back in ancient Egypt would one dark matter time period, again, we use the word day, but it's not accurate because these are events. One dark matter period between two events in ancient Egypt would be the same amount of duration, if you want to call, or dark matter time, as 66 days today. And so a factor of 66, we could say the Pyramid of Giza, which was allegedly built in 20 years. We have no reason to doubt that. Those are 20 events, right? 365 events make up one event, which we call now a year. So 20 of those, maybe 30 of those from start to finish to complete a pyramid. In my model of time, it would be approximately 66 times that. So we are talking far greater expanse of time to start and build and complete that pyramid. And the reason that makes sense is because the pharaoh is commissioning that pyramid. He's not going to commission 10 pyramids, which will take, 5 pharaoh lifetimes to complete. He's commissioning one pyramid that he is going to complete within his lifetime. Therefore, the 20 years or 20 solar events does make sense. And so based on that, what doesn't make sense is how 2.3 million blocks of stone could be, number one, mined, and number two, dragged to the site, and number three, carved and lifted and constructed. All of that manpower without any machines, it doesn't make sense to be able to happen in 20 or 30 years. So according to my approximation, it was 20 or 30 solar events. It did happen during the pharaoh's lifetime. But what's happening in between one event of a sunrise and one event of a sunset, that's what we're not seeing. That's the dark matter time. That's the time that is actually elongated back in ancient Egypt. So hopefully you've enjoyed some of this thought process. Leave comments below. I'm happy to go back and forth with any relevant questions. And so my theory, which is called dark matter time, is really based on an original concept, taking what Einstein left off with, which is space-time, right? You cannot separate space from time. So taking that constant and then addressing the property of the metric of time, not to a metronomic solar system, which is a closed system, but to the open universe with accelerating stars. The real essence of time is mirrored in that accelerating universe that we find ourselves in. There is no stagnant observer. There is no person in the history of the human race that can say we're going to stand still as we try to observe experiments with other objects around us. No, we are inside the Milky Way, which is a group of solar masses accelerating as a galaxy away from other distant galaxies. So thanks very much for listening, and yes, please subscribe and please hit the notification bell to get updates. I will be continuing